Hi, my name is Marta Cabeza. My husband's name is Adam Cabeza, and we purchased this home in October, and we were not in love with the overall look of the house. It was a bit dated, and it had shiny gray paint, and it was a little beat up. So we were in need of a qualified painter and someone with great recommendations. We're not painters, so we didn't know what went into it, so they were very detailed. And they told us from the get-go the price might change, based on once we look at the house. He came to the house once we got the keys on the day that we closed, which was very nice because it was right before the Thanksgiving holiday, and we wanted to finish before Thanksgiving so we can host our first holiday. And they started when they said, and they finished when they said, and we were very happy about, the information that they gave us. Brian was the on-site manager. Matthew would come in and check to make sure that everything was going okay, but Brian was the one that was around more with the actual painters. And he would have meetings with them in the morning, and he would kind of go over, what needed to get done that day in order for them to have an idea of what was happening. So it wasn't like it was just random. They had set goals for each day, and that helped the process to move along very quickly. And the painters were amazing, very meticulous, super clean, and I felt safe in the house. I was alone with them, so I felt very safe being alone with them. And when I left to go run an errand or to go get something, I felt like they were being respectful of the house.
Would you say any problems or objectives came up throughout the project?
There were several things that happened in the house. Like we had a lot of wood rot outside, and they could have very easily just painted right over it and said, it's painted. And they pointed out the areas that needed to be repaired, and they brought in a carpenter that was able to fix the problems that arise on the outside. And then on the inside, our painter couldn't paint a baseboard. It wouldn't take the paint. So he said, that is moisture. So he knew exactly what it was. And when we pulled back the carpet, we found mold. And Brian immediately got us in touch with a mold expert, a plumber. People left the house. The mold inspector came. The plumber came. And I'm talking within 3 hours. The problem had been resolved, and then they used a carpenter that they worked with to repair the wall and the wood. And not only did they repair it, but they did it to code, and it was approved by the plumber and the mold person. So we were given good advice to ensure that the house was being repaired correctly and not just randomly, because people do that. They kind of just cover up bad things, and then 3 years later your house is falling apart, and they didn't do that. They gave us good advice. We had no idea of how much things would cost. We had a ballpark, but not like an exact number. So I didn't realize that painting the ceilings a different color would be so much more money, so that was a bit of a shocker. But then they made a recommendation. They said leave it the same color, and it turned out to be prettier than what we had expected. So you have to trust the process, that they're the ones that are knowledgeable in painting. So you kind of have to trust their judgment based on their experience, because I'm not a painter and my husband's not a painter. So it was nice that they gave us options to keep our price down.
What was the most memorable part of the project? Was there something that special about the work that kind of stood outside, that was outside of
when it was done? Because we lived outside of the house. We rented a house. So we really weren't in the house until they were finished. And then just coming home and seeing how pretty it looks, and the before and after was so stark that even the cleaning people that came in, they had cleaned the house before because it was pretty gross. And they cleaned it after the paint, and they were like, whoa, this is incredible. Like, they couldn't believe how different it looked. So that was good.
How have you noticed this change? How's it impacted your space? What have you noticed?
the house was kind of stinky before. It had like a stinky smell to it, and it felt very cold because it was shiny paint and it was gray, and it was just really beat up and dirty, you know. And after the cleaning people came and the painters came, it just feels like home. And then you put your furniture in it, and it's very cozy. It has a cozy feel to it. We love it. These are trustworthy people, you know, you're people of your word, you know, and great communicators. I was never left hanging. I text people and I respond quickly, so I expect that because I value people's time, and I feel like you guys did the same thing. Either you or Brian always got back to me. You explained what was happening, why it was happening. So I felt respected. You know, I felt like, okay, they're not, you know, giving me a runaround. And my husband works, so usually when men deal with women, they kind of act a little differently. And they didn't. They acted like they were family, you know. So I felt very comfortable talking to them and explaining things to them. So I would say trustworthy. You guys are trustworthy. You're men of your word, and you do a beautiful job.
Could you, because we did run into an issue on one of the projects with the window.
Yes.
Okay, so could you kind of elaborate like your experience with that? Because we did run into one of the windows not being of size, and you know,
Yeah.
what's your experience with dealing with us doing that when we did run into that objective?
Well, I figured that, I mean, stuff happens. You know, we're pretty easygoing people. You'll have people that aren't very easygoing, and I think nothing in life is perfect. We ordered it in advance for my daughter's baby shower, which is this Sunday, and everything worked out. The windows fixed, the gazebo's fixed, the paint is done, but we had ordered it early enough where we wouldn't get too close, just for it not to get hairy. We figured weather, and the window came in a wrong size, so it had to be reordered. And he immediately put a rush, you know, and at his expense, he put a rush order on the new window, and he kept communicating with us, letting us know, okay, this is what they said, and this is what I told them, and this is when it's expected. And then the minute it came in, he told us it came in, and then when would we be available for it to be installed. So that gave us options. And then Zach came in, and he did a great job. And the window looks beautiful. When the painters were done, Brian came in, and he went room by room. And he didn't know that I had gone room by room. And I had already done that, and we didn't get a chance to talk because there were 8 people here. And he went room by room, and he did a spec sheet of the stuff that he saw. And then we compared notes, and they were kind of the same. So he like really took the time out to look to see what was good, what needed to get brushed up. There was a piece of molding missing in the bathroom, and he had Brennan put it in immediately. And then he met with Jose, and he went over the list. And then I said, oh, did you see? And we compared notes, and they were pretty much the same. So he had the painter go into each room and make sure that the stuff on the list was taken care of. And then after we moved in and we settled in, I found like a dripping on one of the doors, and he came in on a Saturday. He sanded it, he painted it, and he asked, you know, are you happy with this? If there's anything else that we can do, and it was fine. It turned out great. So it was not something that I had to point out to you guys. It was something that you took the time out to look, you know. So that showed me that you were really interested in making sure that the job was well done. It wasn't just like, you know, they were like, let's just, you know, shut her up and just do whatever. You know, they really took the time out. You guys took the time out to fix things, which I appreciated. So at first we were like, whoa. But then in comparison to other companies and to the one other experience that we had, they were comparable or somewhere in the middle, but the level of care that they did for us superseded what that one experience had given us and what we had heard from friends and family. So I feel like the difference is they're not cheap, but they're not the most expensive. And it is a lot of money. It's a 3,000 square foot home, and we painted the whole house. And they did the trim on the outside, and they repaired wood, and they did a lot more stuff that was just paint. But I think that we got value and quality for the amount of money that we invested in the house. So it's preserving the house, hopefully for another 40 years.
It feel good when I sit down and I listen to a customer tell me about her experience with my company. But it lets me, because I run into sometimes you run into like moments of doubt when you're running a business, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it makes me feel like yes, I'm actually making an impact.
Yes.
There's a reason why I named it Impact Painting Services. I wanted to make an impact on my customers' lives.
Yes, absolutely. It changed the whole feel of the house, and it brought it back to life. It feels like the quality is back. It was missing that, when you buy a home and you don't love it, you feel it. I think a house is it's made out of wood, so it's something that is real, right? So when you don't take care of it, it speaks to you, and the energy that you receive from the house, it doesn't feel like a home. It feels very cold and distant. You don't feel comfortable in it. But the minute that you love it and take care of it and just, make it what it's supposed to be, immediately the house responds. It feels warm and inviting, and you feel at home.
It makes me feel good. It just makes me let me know that I'm doing something right.
No, you're doing a lot right. For being a young person, and all of you, I think that you and Brian are a great team, and I think that you're serious about having a successful business. And you had given me an example when you gave me a quote of something that had gone wrong, and that you took the time out to fix it. And that was another reason why we decided to go with you guys, because things will go wrong. You have squeaky people that, like complaining about everything, but in the grand scheme of things, something will always go wrong, but it's how you fix it. What do you do let's fix it, and you both came up with answers and results. So it wasn't just about a problem, it was a problem and a solution, stuff that you offered solutions. And I think that was the difference. That's the difference in a successful business, because stuff will go wrong.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for wanting my input. I mean, who the heck am I? I love the house. Speaks for itself.